Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Celestial Tree. I'm an astrologer, intuitive reader, and soul psychologist as well. And today we are going to be chatting about the lunar nodes changing signs and shifting from Libra and Aries into Virgo and Pisces. The lunar nodes are changing signs around, well, technically they've changed signs already, but they will officially change signs around the 29th of Jan, where they will be in Pisces and Virgo until August 2026. I will give you guys the general meaning of the lunar nodes changing signs, like a more collective interpretation of what we might come to expect. And then I will give you guys your horoscopes and what the lunar nodes changing signs will mean for you personally. Before I get started, here is a gentle reminder that if you would like a reading from me, you can book with me on my website at celestialhealingrealm.com. And remember to subscribe to my brand new YouTube channel for more horoscopes and astrology updates. So, the lunar nodes, or the cosmic hula hoop, as I like to call them. I did a really bad job of explaining them in my astrology of 2025 video, so I'm not going to attempt that again. But essentially, the lunar nodes are the only nodes that are most commonly used in astrology, and they are the only nodes that are included when you pull up your birth chart. So what do they mean? I did talk a little bit about this in my astrology of 2025 video. But the lunar nodes are quite karmic forces. They represent the polarity between like our past experiences and our future opportunities. The south node, which kind of looks like a upside down horseshoe, it represents our past experiences and the kind of baggage and habits that like weigh us down. Wherever the south node moves in our charts is where we're being called to kind of release the baggage and let go of habits and people and circumstances and experiences that we are clinging to that don't serve our highest good. The north node, which is kind of like a normal shaped horseshoe, symbolizes the direction that we're going in, and it's kind of like our pathway to growth. The North Node can sometimes bring situations and people and circumstances and experiences that are kind of like fated. These things are presented to us to challenge us and push us outside of our comfort zone so that we can grow and evolve as people. And it's very rewarding once you're able to kind of like work with the energy and recognize where and in which way we need to grow. So generally speaking, what does the lunar node shift mean for us as a collective? Well, for the last 18 months, we have had the south node in Libra. Libra rules over things like relationships, marriage, national marriage rates, divorce, national divorce rates, foreign affairs, foreign diplomacy, and the relationship between foreign nations. Like I said, the South Node is all about letting go and things sort of coming undone. And if we look at the last 18 months, we have seen a lot of conversations about relationships, marriage, divorce. If you think about all the media that you've consumed over the last 18 months, all the sort of like videos and podcasts, a lot of them are centered around relationships and how we relate to one another. We have also seen like foreign relations take center stage as well. We have seen the breakdown of many of the relationships between different countries. Some of those relationships have existed and have been quite strong since certain countries' like inceptions. And we have seen diplomacy kind of be like on the floor. We've seen arguments, we've seen policies, we've seen laws that kind of go against the usual sort of geopolitical landscape. And I feel like there's been a lot of countries who have countries who were originally, I say originally, countries who were colonized previously, we've seen a lot of countries letting go of their colonial ties as well, and releasing a lot of their sort of like colonial histories and colonial identities in favor of a more indigenous and more independent identity. So what can we come to expect when the South Node shifts from Libra into Virgo in a few days? Where it will be for the next 18 months. We might see the breakdown and the letting go of very like Virgo themes and institutions. So healthcare is a really big one. I know here in the UK the NHS is on its knees, has been on its knees for a long time. We could see a massive overhaul of healthcare, the laws around it, how it works, who it works for, not just in the UK but around the world. Another really important thing to note about Virgo is that Virgo rules over workers and workers' rights. So we could see the letting go of really unhealthy and unhelpful work laws, and we might see changes when it comes to things like the collective power that employees have, and we might see more conversations around things like trade unions and positive work practices. I feel like mental health days is the only thing I can think of off the top of my head, unfortunately, right now. Other things that Virgo rules over are animal rights, national service, so like the army, and also fitness and health and healing. When I say health and healing, I don't just mean medical, but I also mean holistic as well. Now, in terms of the North Node, which has been in the sign of Aries for the last 18 months, remember the North Node is where we're moving towards. And Aries, which is ruled by Mars, generally rules over things like war and conflict and conquering, violence, explosions, masculinity, and also the overall condition of countries and the inhabitants of that country. So when I say overall condition, I'm talking about whether or not the country is prosperous, and whether or not the inhabitants are like happy and healthy and things like that. So that's kind of what Aries rules over. Interestingly, and also kind of weirdly as well, right at the end of the North Node's transit through Aries, we had a TikTok ban, but this ban actually, well, only over in the US of course, but this ban actually encouraged the US users to move over to a Chinese app called Redbook or Xiaohongshu. I hope I said that right and didn't butcher it. And when they moved over there, they discovered that the conditions that they live under and the conditions of their country in the US were not great compared to the conditions of those people in China. So that was kind of a really weird and interesting way to wrap up the North Node in Aries cycle. Everyone sort of becoming aware of like their own financial conditions and their own economic conditions in relation to the countries they're from by seeing the conditions of the inhabitants of other countries. It was really, really interesting. We have definitely had a very lively 18 months. I do feel like maybe lively is not actually the best word for that. We have seen a really big push towards violence and conflict, not just domestically, but also internationally as well. There has been an array of conflicts popping up all over the world for various different reasons. There's been a lot more discussions around the nature of masculinity as well. I feel like Aries does have rulership, not total rulership, but when we talk about masculinity, we do think of Aries. There's been a lot of discussions around the nature of masculinity, the crisis that masculinity is in, the crisis of masculine expression as well, and some of the dangers of toxic masculinity and how that can go from being something that people are talking about maybe in an online space to something that actually has real world consequences. And we've also seen mass fires as well in different parts of the world. Most recently we had the fires in LA right at the beginning of the North Nodes shift into we had the LA fires recently, but right at the beginning of the North Nodes move into Aries, we did have fires in Hawaii. So yeah, it's been a lot. The North Node in Aries. It's been a lot. So what can we come to expect in terms of the North Node's shift into the sign of Pisces? Well, to see where we're heading towards, we kind of need to look at what Pisces rules over generally in astrology. So Pisces rules over institutions, so like prisons, hospitals, charities, asylums, and institutions that help the vulnerable, help or house the vulnerable, I should say. It also rules over things like the welfare state, spirituality, the occult, secret societies, and religions. And Pisces is ruled by Neptune. So if you think of the oceans and like large bodies of water, fishing and traveling via the sea, that is also quite Piscean. And also emotions as well is something that sometimes we forget to mention when we are talking about Pisces. So we could see a lot of flooding is the first thing I would say. We have had a lot of fires. I do feel like we could see a lot of flooding over the next 18 months, and a lot of talk about the oceans and maybe a greater push towards protecting our oceans and the creatures that live inside of it. We could see a lot of institutional reform, so the reform of like how prisons are run and how hospitals are run as well. We could see a greater focus on spirituality generally and more like niche areas of the spiritual paradigm. There could be a lot of discussions and conversations around things like the occult and secret societies as well. Pisces also rules over what is hidden. So there could be a lot of information coming out about secrets in general, but also like secret enemies and spies from abroad. So what I would say is pay attention to the media and to the conversations you find yourself in or the conversations you hear about over the next 18 months. I feel like it's going to be quite an interesting 18 months, if I'm honest. Now I'm going to give you guys your personal horoscopes for the lunar nodes changing signs, and please do remember to listen to both your sun sign and your rising sign as well. Aries suns and Aries risings. The South Node will be moving into your 6th house for the next 18 months. The 6th house rules over physical health, daily routines, and habits and work. So the 6th house also rules over perfectionist tendencies as well. So a few things could happen here. I think while the South Node is here, you'll start to become aware of and begin letting go of some unhealthy habits and behaviors when it comes to how you operate on a day-to-day basis. If you have been super hard on yourself and overly critical of yourself, then you'll become aware of this and start to kind of build a new narrative and a kinder inner voice. If at any point during the next 18 months you do feel stressed or you feel overwhelmed, I do feel like it is a sign to look more closely at your well-being practices and try and think of some new ways to relieve stress and achieve more mental and physical peace as well, because the mind and the body are connected. As for the North Node moving into your 12th house, 12th house is all things spirituality, mental health, the subconscious, and what is hidden. Those are going to be the things that are a bit more in focus over the next 18 months. You might feel inclined to pursue spiritual matters and connect deeper to your own personal spiritual beliefs. And I feel like you might also make like a commitment to developing your own intuition as well. And because the 12th house also rules over things like rest and isolation, I do feel like you will crave a lot more time on your own. A lot more time, like I feel like you'd crave more time being in like solitude and having a lot of self-reflection. I do feel like what would be really, really good is if you could explore things like meditation and also dream analysis as well, because the 12th house rules over dreams. And the more you sort of explore things like meditation and dream analysis, I feel like you will have a lot of like deep spiritual experiences and insights, which is quite exciting, I feel like. The key here is to find a better balance between your work, the tasks that you have to do on a day-to-day, and rest and replenishment, trying to find a balance between those two things. It's important to remind yourself that to be your most productive, you also need to make sure that your cup is full, and you have to be adequately rested as well. So try and keep that in mind over the next 18 months. Taurians, Taurus suns and Taurus risings. The South Node will be moving into your 5th house for the next 18 months. The 5th house rules over creative expression, romance and dating, pleasure, hobbies, and children as well. This is probably a period where you will set out to release baggage around love. And around how you creatively express yourself and how you experience joy. I actually have had the South Node, it's moving in a few days, but I've had the South Node in my 5th house for the last 18 months. And I can say that there will be times where you do feel like, well, why isn't this fun for me anymore? Like, why am I not finding joy in the things that I used to find joy in? And I think you might be letting go of ways that you used to sort of engage in pleasure. And I feel like you're going to be letting go of a lot of ways you used to engage in romantic relationships as well. That's not to say you'll have zero fun. That's not what I'm saying. But your focus will be on other areas of life. The North Node is moving into your 11th house of friends, groups, networking, and long-term goals for the future. So that means that your focus will be more on those areas. So building connections with others, networking and collaborating with others. And I feel like those things are going to be what's most important to you over the next 18 months. Try and remain open to new connections and get really clear about your long-term goals. You might even meet people who will help you achieve those long-term goals, like like-minded people that will hold you accountable and push you forward towards the dreams that you have for yourself. The key here is to build a supportive network and embrace new connections so that they can kind of help you get closer and closer to your destiny, basically. Gemini suns and my fellow Gemini risings. The South Node is moving into your 4th house of home and family. It's going to be there for the next 18 months. And you'll probably feel like staying at home a lot more, but the universe is kind of calling you to venture out and get out of the house. This transit, South Node being in the 4th house, might highlight some issues and some baggage when it comes to your home, when it comes to your family and your early life as well, like your childhood beliefs. There might be some like conditionings from like childhood or from your culture that you become aware of during this transit, and you think, right, this is holding me back, like I really need to let this go so that I can move forward and be happy and feel freer. I think this could also bring up a lot of like insecurities and issues in terms of how you give yourself support. How you allow yourself to receive support as well from others. So I feel like it's really important to make sure you are working through these issues and supporting yourself, and also being open to asking for support from other people as well. The North Node is moving into your 10th house, which as a Gemini rising, I'm super excited about. 10th house rules over career, it rules over your status and your public reputation. So this really is an opportunity for you to begin building your career and taking advantage of the career opportunities that are on their way to you. There might be some feelings of discomfort. The North Node has a tendency to bring us out of our comfort zones. But as long as you're embracing responsibility and you're advancing your professional aspirations, and as long as you're doing that with the goal of taking better care of yourself and your family, I feel like it's going to be really, really important, then you should be okay. You should be okay. It's important to kind of remind yourself that you have to be brave, and you have to know that you are capable of managing the career-related things that are heading your way. It is time for you to kind of carve out your own career path, separate from your familial confines, if that makes sense, and use your leadership qualities to get more aligned with your career. By the end of this transit, provided you have done the work, your career will look a lot different and a lot more developed compared to how it looks now. Cancerians, Cancer suns and Cancer risings. So the next 18 months, the South Node will move into your 3rd house of communication, local community and short distance travel, as well as siblings and the mind. I want to start by saying that there might be times during the next 18 months where your confidence might dip in regards to how you communicate and how you express yourself, and how you express your own ideas. There might be some times where you are overthinking, and I would encourage you, Cancers, to try your best to, if you do feel like that, try your best to acknowledge the beauty of your mind and all of your mental talents that you have. Work through your confidence issues and try not to focus on every little detail. Try and keep the bigger picture in mind. With the North Node moving into your 9th house of beliefs, travel and higher learning, you are probably going to be feeling called to explore the world a lot more. Book that holiday. Explore and experience different cultures if that's possible for you. I feel like you'll be called to go deeper into the deeper aspects of life, like spirituality, philosophy and religion. I feel like your personal horizons and how you see the world will broaden over the next 18 months. So whether that's through study, traveling, or delving deeper into your own personal belief system or the belief system of others. It's a really important time for you, Cancerians. You will be embracing a lot of personal growth through the knowledge that you acquire and through all your upcoming explorations and adventures as well. So try your best over the next 18 months to stay in the moment. Leo suns and Leo risings. For the next 18 months, the South Node will be moving into your 2nd house of income, finances, values and self-worth, and also talents as well. So this transit might bring up some issues in terms of your own personal sense of security and your confidence in yourself overall. There might be times where you feel a little bit ungrounded, or you might be questioning your own values. There might also be times where you feel like holding on to your possessions and holding on to your money. But I feel like it would be really good over the next 18 months to lean into the wisdom of this idea of money being energy, and knowing that your sense of security would be it would be good if it could come from a more internal place rather than an external one. I think working on improving your self-confidence and sort of letting go of some of the things that have been holding you back from leaning into your full authentic self, and appreciating your inner beauty and your outer beauty is going to be really, really important over the next 18 months. Try and spend some more time in the physical world and in nature. And if you do find yourself getting in your head too much, I would take a walk. Take a walk. It doesn't need to be a long walk. Just go outside and feel the air and look at the trees. Just, yeah, reconnect with the physical world. The North Node is going to be moving into your 8th house of shared resources and joint finances, intimacy and psychological transformations. So it's going to be really, really important that you remain open to the different ways that money can flow to you. The energy of money can flow to you. You might feel called to explore some of the deeper aspects of life. The 8th house is kind of a house of like the stuff that nobody really wants to talk about. So like sex and money and death and all those kind of like taboo topics. I think if any of those things that sound particularly scary, then that just means that you do have some work to do when it comes to exploring some of these areas. Take what you are going to be learning about these areas of life and let them inform you and your life experience, and let them help you grow as a person as well. Like work through some of your fears and work through some of your desires and things like that. I feel like you're going to be releasing a lot of like emotional baggage, and using the energy of the North Node in your 8th house to delve deeper into your subconscious. So I feel like the more you sort of do the work and the more you kind of face those fears, the more you will be fostering a deeper sense of like personal growth and personal development as well. Virgo suns and Virgo risings. The South Node will be moving into your 1st house for the next 18 months. The 1st house rules over your life path, your identity, and your physical body and your appearance as well. With the South Node here, there might be a lot of emphasis placed on your own personal emotional baggage. This could mean issues around your personal identity and your independence as well. There is a chance that you might feel a little bit weary about leaning on people, and you might kind of lean back into the tendency of over-relying on yourself for support. I feel like it's really important over the next 18 months to take steps to move away from that kind of energy and that kind of behavior, and embrace your one-to-one connections with others. Do your best not to retreat and try to cultivate deeper relationships with others and the people that are around you, and remind yourself to sort of ask for support where you need it. The North Node is moving into your 7th house of one-to-one relationships, marriage, and contracts. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to grow when it comes to how you compromise with others, who you compromise for, how you cooperate, and how you find the balance between give and take when it comes to your needs and the needs of others. I feel like finding the right partner, finding the right friends, and building healthy relationships with the people that are around you is going to be really, really important over the next 18 months. What I would say is be open to collaborations and partnerships, whether that's business or romantic, and try to put your trust in other people a little bit more. If you do feel lonely at any point during the next 18 months, don't be afraid to reach out to your friends and your loved ones and ask for some support. Librans, Libra suns and Libra risings. Over the next 18 months, the South Node will move into your 12th house of all things hidden, the subconscious, mental health, and spirituality. This is a really, really important time for you because this is a period where you're going to be releasing a lot. Like, you're going to be releasing a lot of baggage related to your past, related to your subconscious. You're going to be becoming aware of your blind spots and letting go of some of the behaviors that you engage in as a result of those subconscious blind spots. The 12th house also does rule over dreams, so do pay attention to your dreams and the insights that the universe is sharing with you through the dreams. I would also say try not to get lost in the source, spiritually speaking. Because the North Node is moving into your 6th house of work, day-to-day routines and health. So your focus should be more so on the day-to-day dealings of life. If you haven't done so already, it would be really, really good if you could make like a routine so that you can have some support when it comes to keeping yourself on track, so you're not sort of getting lost in the source. There will be a lot of emphasis on taking care of your physical body and your health in general, and I feel like you will be trying to focus on establishing healthier habits, not just like in your day-to-day but also at work as well. The 6th house also rules over service and organization and getting organized, so you might find yourself wanting to serve others in some way, either through like the work that you do or in your own personal way. Taking a balanced approach to your work, to your rest, to your health and well-being will be the key to working with the energy of this transit and getting the most benefit from it. Scorpio suns and Scorpio risings. The South Node will be heading into your 11th house of friends, groups, and long-term goals for the future. You will be spending the next 18 months letting go of a lot of baggage related to your friends and groups, as well as working through any confidence issues that you have connected to your long-term goals for the future. It's going to be really important for you to not fall back into the crowd and kind of dim your light. Even if there are issues with your friends, try to focus on your own independence and building your own self-worth up. And making sure that your own sense of individuality exists outside of a group setting. Try to get comfortable with your own individuality and what makes you you, even if it's a little bit weird or a little bit quirky. Like, try and lean into that a lot more. The North Node is moving into your 5th house of pleasure, fun, dating, romance, hobbies, and children. So this is a time for your creative expression to kind of soar to new heights. There's a lot of like inner child healing to be had when the North Node moves into this space, this part of your chart. And there is a chance that you could even have a child of your own as well. So exciting. Follow your passions and be open to things like romance and pleasure, because there could be a lot of that heading your way. So try and remain open to that and keep an eye out for it as well. You'll probably be engaging in hobbies and activities that bring you joy a lot more, and embracing your artistic talents as well. So yeah, lean into that. Like, it's gonna be, I'm like, you're gonna have so much fun. Just lean into it. Like, don't resist it. Put yourself out there, express what you want to get from this transit. And you'll be surprised how quickly the universe will kind of meet you where you are. Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings. The South Node will be heading into your 10th house of career, status, and public reputation. So there might be points during the next 18 months where you feel a little bit lost career-wise. You might be questioning your capabilities when it comes to your career as well. What I would say is that there may be things issues or baggage around like the confidence in yourself and in your career and your capabilities that need to be worked through, and this is probably the best time to work through them. If you need to take a break from work for a little bit, then I would, if it's possible to do that, I would do that. And try not to over-identify with your career and your responsibilities as well. Try to remind yourself that there is a you outside of your work, and the you outside of your work also needs to be nourished and nurtured. You are more than your productivity, is what I would say. The North Node is moving into your fourth house of home and family and the past and roots. So this means that your focus will be on getting closer to your family or your chosen family, building a happy home, and breaking generational cycles that may have been having a negative effect on you and on your bloodline, if that makes sense. You'll probably be taking steps to create a more solid and stable foundation, not just home-wise, but also emotionally as well, like a strong emotional foundation. You might feel called to explore your ancestral roots more and create like a home environment that feels a lot more sanctuary-like and a lot more nurturing, and aligns more with your energy. Your personal life will be a lot more in focus over the next 18 months. So try to let go of what needs to be let go so that you can establish a better foundation for yourself. And that will ultimately benefit you in the long term. Capricorn suns and Capricorn risings. Over the next 18 months, the South Node will be transiting your ninth house of beliefs, higher learning, and long distance travel overseas. So this is a little bit of a tricky one because the ninth house rules over the things that I just mentioned, but it also rules over expansion and how our minds broaden, like how we expand our horizons. So with the South Node here, there could be some issues with space, and you feeling kind of like boxed in, a little bit trapped, a little bit suffocated, not literally, figuratively, of course. You might be, over the next 18 months, questioning your own belief system and getting to the bottom of why you believe the things that you do. You might be thinking, do I still believe these things? And I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but that can put a really big strain on you mentally. So try to give yourself permission to ask for space, whether it's at home, whether it's at work, and try not to overthink the bigger picture. Like, try not to get too existential is what I'm trying to say. Focus on the details and the things that are within your control. The North Node is moving into your third house of siblings, local travel, and your local community or your neighborhood. And the third house is also communication as well. So every person you come across and you meet over the next 18 months those people will have made their way into your life, so that you can learn from them in some way. Be open to interactions and new connections, especially connections you're forming with those in your own neighborhood and in your community. The North Node here in the third house kind of shows us how powerful our voices and the voices of others can be, and how little like conversations and discussions we have can make a really big difference to our lives and the lives of those around us. You might also be spending a lot more time with your siblings, if you have siblings, and seeking out new learning opportunities to develop your intellectual curiosity and foster personal growth. Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings. I'm going to sit back because it's about to get a little bit serious. The South Node will be moving into your 8th house, where it will be for the next 18 months. The 8th house is quite a heavy house, but I'm going to walk you through everything and try to break it down the best I can. The eighth house rules over shared resources, joint finances, intimacy, and your psyche. The South Node here can bring up a lot of stuff from the past. It can bring up a lot of fears, a lot of triggers. It can be quite an intense transit for some people because the things that come up for them are like super extreme. And it can be kind of difficult to navigate on your own. So I know I'm never this serious with you guys, but I would recommend that if at any point during this transit you feel like you're having a bit of a tough time, therapy is an option. I shouldn't laugh, it's not funny, but even just reaching out to a friend for support is going to be really, really important. If this transit brings up any issues around shared finances, keep in mind that it is really important to be kind of like smart with your money and utilize your resources in the right way. The North Node is heading into your second house of income, self-worth, talents, and values. So this means that your focus with the next 18 months is going to be on developing a stronger sense of financial stability and self-reliance and independence from like a financial perspective. You'll be probably reassessing your relationship to money, and you're reassessing your relationship to the material world in general, and hopefully leaning more on that sort of idea that money is energy, and that your sense of security should come from a more internal space rather than an external one. I will also say that you might find it a little bit easier to make money during this transit, which is fantastic. You might be using your own personal talents and abilities to have them work for you financially over the next 18 months, which is good. There are going to be times over the next 18 months where you do feel a little bit, where life feels a little bit heavier. And I say heavier because life is pretty heavy, but it will feel a little bit heavier than usual. But there is still plenty of learning and plenty of joy to be had as well. So try and keep that in mind, and try and focus on striking a balance between dealing with what you need to be dealing with and finding the joy through that and learning the lessons. I hope that makes sense. Pisceans! Oh my gosh, I hit the table there and it shook. My fellow Pisces suns and Pisces risings. The South Node will be moving into your 7th house of marriage, one-to-one relationships, business partnerships, and contracts for the next 18 months. So this means that you might have some baggage come up related to your relationships and your partnerships that need releasing. There might be issues with things like boundaries and compromise and cooperation. You might even let go of the one-to-one connections that you have that are not healthy for you and not conducive to your growth over the course of this transit. It's important that when you're welcoming new connections over the next 18 months that they are healthy and respectful of your space, respectful of your time, and respectful of your energy as well, and respectful of your boundaries. Very, very important. The North Node is moving into your 1st house of identity and physical appearance and life path. So the priority during this transit is probably going to be you first and foremost, which I feel like is not a bad thing. You've got to prioritize your independence, your autonomy, the way you define yourself in the world. I think it's very easy for, especially us Pisces, to kind of lose ourselves in the needs of others, and over accommodate. So try to find a balance between accommodating others and taking care of your needs as well. I always say you hear me say it all the time, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And that is even more amplified when you're not living in your power and you're not living as your true authentic self would, I feel like it's a lot harder to pour into others when you're not living your truth, you know? I don't know how to explain it. I feel like you guys get what I mean. So focus on your individuality, focus on your self-discovery as well, and try your best to develop your assertiveness, develop your self-confidence, and develop your independence as well. Follow your heart, follow your passions, focus on personal fulfillment, and everything will work out for your highest good. So that is all for today, guys. Remember to like this video and subscribe to my brand new YouTube channel for more astrology updates and horoscopes. Also follow me on TikTok and Instagram. I'm going to try and get back into recording short form content at some point. Because I don't know, I should have been off it, you know. But anyway, my TikTok and Instagram are both linked in the description box below, and do leave a comment on what are your expectations for the lunar nodes changing signs. Happy healing, everyone.